to welcome everyone to this week's webinar. Today's focus is going to be on the client portal. And you'll see with the next series of webinars that we're doing, it's going to be for a much more targeted audience that we'll be inviting at least. So we're taking a lot of time to analyze usage within the system. We want to make sure that you guys are taking advantage of benefits and features of certain things that we see no usage on your end with. So a lot of contractors have benefit with the features within the client portal. So we want to make sure that you guys understand what you can offer your customers. So who's attending this webinar are actually people that do not have any usage within the system, or it's very minimal. They might have users set up, but there's no logins. So I'm going to try to keep it a little bit more high level. We're not going to get into too much of the mechanics, but for implementing the client portal and branding it, Will Riley did a really good summary a couple of weeks ago and gave a good high-level overview on that. So feel free to check that out if you log in. It's right in the news feed, so feel free to check that out. It's on YouTube. So like I was saying, today's focus is going to be on the client portal, and we're going to focus on a high-level overview of the benefits, characteristics of an ideal client portal. We'll get into some of the advanced reporting features, and then we're going to get into the fundamentals of how to populate the portal in those different style reports. So because some of you on here may or may not know what a client portal is, a techie term to what it is an electronic gateway to a collection of digital files, services, and information accessible over the internet through a web browser, so through an internet connection. It's a sharing mechanism between you guys and your clients. So let's talk about the characteristics of an ideal client portal. And the first thing that comes to mind would be it needs to be simple in terms of collection. So meaning how the data gets entered into the client portal, it needs to be simple and not reliant on one or two individuals within the company. So it can't be complex, because right now you probably have many different individuals in the company that have their hands in sales, service, operations. We want to make sure that all of that information can be collected by them and populated inside of the portal, or it'll never be implemented properly. So again, we want to make sure it's not reliant on one or two individuals. It needs to be consistent. So it needs to be consistent on what you collect and how you collect it. We try to do our best with creating web applications for your mobile to perform inspections, perform service, and then perform your operations. It's very systematic on the pages that your employees will go through. So you want to make sure that it's not deviating, or your employees aren't deviating from that. You want to make sure you put policy in place so that every time somebody does an inspection, they take at least 4 observation photos, and they're taking deficiencies in increments of 2 to fully populate the page. So consistency. Another thing is promoting visibility and transparency to your customers who you're providing the client portal to. They should always be able to see the information that you're providing through a service call, the timestamps of when you say you're going to be there, when they're in progress, and then when you guys resolve the ticket. So different things as far as visibility on maybe inspections, service work, or capital projects, being able to see that type of information. The next thing is kind of vague, increasing communication. So the portal has a lot of different features that will allow you to increase communication, whether it's allowing your customers to log in and then request service without having to call you and just sending that request there, or maybe even being able to locate a deficiency from a past service call using the past reporting. So there's a couple ways in which we can increase communication in the client portal. And the most important thing is we need to make sure we're providing value to our customer in some degree, at some level of the features that we can offer them through the portal. So let's kind of talk about some of the benefits for you guys pushing this out into your market space. So the first thing I think of is giving you guys the capability of differentiating yourselves from your market. Now, a lot of times I see or I hear that there's competition that has a portal, and that that they can't implement it because other people are doing it in their space. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous, because when you look at the amount of contractors that actually have it, it's less than 10% after we've ran the numbers. And the people that actually have it, that promote good use of it and actually utilize the features, is probably 10% of that. So you're looking at 1 to 2% of contractors that actually use it in a fashion that it's intended. So just because your competitors have a portal, make sure you're setting the bar higher by offering, additional features that they're not offering currently within the portal. Now, the next thing is customer acquisition on past customers. So there's a statistic out there that says it takes about 4 to 10 times more money, or it's 4 to 10 times more difficult to capture or acquire a new customer than it is to re-engage an existing customer or a past customer. So this is a great opportunity to reach out to your customers and let them know that you're investing in additional technology and a better way of servicing them. So customer acquisition for past clients, re-engaging them. Now, the next thing I have on here kind of goes hand in hand, the retainage of your customers. Providing value through the client portal with one of the features that your competition down the street can't do, something as simple as making sure that inspection reports are available online or past invoices, is of value to them. And you want to make sure that you're providing that type of value to retain those customers. Now, the next one is creating reoccurring revenue, a reoccurring revenue stream, being able to create it and sustain it. So service is extremely transactional, and if you don't have some type of system in place to manage it, you'll never keep your customers happy. So the client portal benefits, I mean, this is a large one, being able to create a reoccurring revenue stream. Now, this one I didn't really think about when I first thought about all the different benefits, but I've had a couple of contractors tell me that they love the technology, it gets them in the door, but they love even more being able to talk about the different things that are going on in the industry, and just educating the buyers on proactive maintenance agreements, sustaining the life of their roof, and different things like that. So just giving you a chance to get in front of your customers and be professional and let them know how much you guys know about the industry that you're in. And the last benefit I have on here is the ability to work very well with your customers on a day-to-day basis, but more so being able to reach the CFOs and CEOs of large property management groups or large companies that you work with, because you're able to provide the reports that they need to make an educated decision on capital projects or expenses and things like that. So that's really the next topic that we're going to get into, is some of the advanced reports that you have the capability of offering your customer. And the first one that comes to mind is the budget matrix. Now, some of you may or may not know what this is, but the budget matrix is a real-time budgeting tool that updates while you're doing your inspection reports, when you're doing annual inspection reports, biannual, and once service work is completed. You just need to make sure that the information is in there from an inspection and you set the budgets. From that point moving forward, all that information, like I said, will update in real time. So there's zero maintenance to making sure this is maintained for your customers. Now, right now on the screen, we're looking at a company-wide budget matrix, and it's really in progress. So it's not all filled out, and this is something that you want to strive for, making sure that you have a list of your customers' properties inside of their portfolio, and you have all of them inspected, and then you have all of the budgets set for each one of them, because at the bottom, it's going to tell you what the total amount of budgeting is for emergency, remedial, and replacement, those different variables inside of an inspection that you guys find every day when you're going out and doing those inspections. So how do we populate that company-wide budget matrix? And it truly starts with an inspection. But what we need to do is go into a property after an inspection, and we'll see that we have all of the consolidated data from our inspection right here in a easy to read format for your customer. So once we get in here, we're going to see an aerial image with the different roof areas of this particular property. And we're going to see that there's about 95,000 square feet. It has an overall grade of a C, an average overall grade of a C. with all 4 sections in consideration. And that's just based on the useful service life remaining within the roofing asset. And it's important that you explain that to your customer how you grade roofs. So A being 10 years of service life or more remaining, 8 to 10 would be a B, 5 to 7 C, so on and so forth. And once we start moving down, we can truly see what's happening at this property. It's broken down into all these different roof areas. And we want to make sure that we're not telling the owner what to do or what to budget for. We're simply stating the facts and we're letting them decide what's best for him to do. So as you can see in this example, we have all these different roof areas and then all the different deficiencies bucketed into emergency, remedial, and replacement costs. So we can simply work through this and set the budgets, or we can allow them to set the budgets for what makes the most sense for them to move forward. And the most important thing about this budgeting tool is allowing you guys to familiarize yourself with the day-to-day operations and how critical these different roof areas are to this facility. So that's what you're seeing in that drop down right there, the 4, 5, 2, and 1. That's just prioritizing this particular roof area to their day-to-day operations. And it goes from a 0, meaning least important or least critical. They might not have a tenant in there. It doesn't matter if they have leaks. Whereas 6 is of highest importance. It might mean that it's the owner's office. He writes the checks. There might be, critical information or materials, equipment inside of there. They can't have leaks. So we simply set all of these different budgets, emergency, remedial, and or replacement for each one of these, hit the update button, and that's going to take us back to the company-wide budget matrix, and that will start populating that information. A frequently asked question inside of support is, I've done all of these inspections, I go into the budget matrix, and all my values are 0. You need to make sure that you set the budgets. This is not an inventory, this is a budgeting tool for them. All right, so getting into the next style of reports and talking about the importance of setting the priority of each one of those sections, it really comes into play with these 4 executive style reports, and it's just that bar graph in the upper right hand corner when you log into the portal. So the first 2 actually are the outstanding liabilities. This is going to show you the expense repair inventory. It's going to truncate the emergency and remedial costs for each section. And then the capital project budgets are just going to take into consideration the replacement value for each one. And for both of those reports, you're going to see that you have a priority column, and you can simply sort and you can ascend and descend based on priority. So you'll see that you start to develop relationships and you build trust with some of the companies that you're working with, and they might tell you at one point that they have X amount of dollars to spend on their roofing assets. And you can simply jump into these reports and start sorting based on the importance to them. And you might say, there's a lot more repairs that need to be done with the amount of money that you have, but let's go ahead and take care of your 6s, 5s, and 4s, and let's jump into your capital project budget, and we'll filter by today's year and see which ones that need to be replaced. So it gives you all of that information, and all of this is truly populated from an inspection, and we're going to get into the fundamentals of that shortly. Now, I've actually heard stories of how certain capital projects get funded based on using this historical data and then these outstanding liability reports. For example, you might have an instance where you can pull a 12-month date range for work order repair history on a certain roof area that's just shot and they need to replace it. And then you can go ahead and filter for the expense repair inventory of everything that's going on, all the repairs, the active repairs on that roof area. And you might then go ahead and download and print out an inspection report to give to a property manager to where they can then take that to their boss. You're giving them the tools that they need to authorize that capital project and to get that project funded, because they know it needs to be replaced. They don't have the tools, or they're not aware of how to do that. So you're aiding in that process. Now let's take it back a little bit and talk about how these reports get populated, because some people tend to think that it's very difficult to get this style of reporting. But in all reality, 60% of those reports are populated from an inspection and what you guys are doing day to day. And some of you guys may be pros at doing inspections and some of you may not be. But there's a big difference between a good inspection report and a poor inspection report. Now, like I said, I just want to talk about some of the fundamentals to populate this report and making sure that you guys are doing this and having your guys do this as well. So when we start off an inspection, the first step is to section out the facility and break it out into different roof areas. And once we've done that, we can start the inspection on that particular section. So the first thing that we do, we take some observation photos, we take any composition photos of core cuts, and then it gets us to a point where we're documenting our deficiencies. Now, we've kind of coined the phrase of stocking the shelves, and the idea behind that is when you step foot on a roof, you want to think of it as your storefront. And you're taking your device and you're using it as a barcode scanner to populate the shelves or to stock the shelves with the different products that you can sell your customer. So we want to make sure we're taking the time and putting accurate information in here. So when we're taking our deficiencies, the first step is to take a photograph of what the problem is. And then we move into categorizing the deficiency, selecting the type, which drives the description, corrective action. And then we get to a point where we select whether it's emergency or remedial. And this is extremely important to populate those reports that I just went over. So this is also important so you don't lose credibility with your customer. You don't want to mark everything as emergency because you're going to lose credibility right away because they're going to recognize that that deficiency is not causing water to enter into the roof system. So that's the main difference is emergency repairs are causing water to enter into the roof system. It's saturating the insulation. It's causing a leak into the building. Whereas remedial, it's potential concern that's going to happen before the roof fails. And there's a big difference between how they budget for those two styles of deficiencies. Emergency typically comes out of the store budget, whereas remedial gets budgeted for in the short term. So we're making sure that we're classifying those correctly. We're selecting the quantity, the unit that it's measured in, and then we get to the repair cost. And all too often I see this not filled out. And I'm going to get into this in a couple minutes here, but make sure you're filling out the repair cost for these deficiencies. And the last step is locating the deficiency on the map there, the aerial image. And then it takes us to a point where we're going ahead and grading the condition of the roof. So again, with that basic grading system, A through F, A meaning 10 years of service life remaining, F meaning less than 1 year of service life remaining. But we're grading the membrane, flashing, sheet metal, giving an overall grade. And again, credibility. We want to make sure that we're not just grading everything in F because we know that it needs to be replaced. We want to make sure that we're accurate with these condition grades. Now, the overall grade is what drives the projected replacement date. So when we select D, it's going to give us an option for 2 to 4 years from that year that you're doing the inspection. So we're going to say 2018. And then we want to make sure, even though it says optional there, we want to make sure that we're plugging in a cost to replace the roof because that's what populates those capital project budget reports. So just having that cost per square foot, it's a budgetary number. Your customers need to know that. And if they ever need to firm it up, you can certainly do that. But we're just plugging in a budgetary number so we can try to service the customer until it needs to be replaced and keep them away from that number as long as possible. Then the last screen is giving your formal recommendations on repair or replace for this particular roof area. And then we can give our recommendation in that text box. But all too often I see inspectors and sales guys giving replacement bids, and they love using inspect, but they're not using it properly. They go into it with the intention of, okay, I'm going to take a couple pictures and then I'm going to slap a replacement cost on there. I might take a couple pictures of deficiencies. I'm not going to price them, and then I'm going to give that to the customer. It doesn't look good. Again, there's a big difference between a good inspection report and a bad one. You need to substantiate your recommendation for replacement by showing the customer that the roof's shot and there's all these different repair costs. So just listing all of those out. And if you're already going through and firming up a replacement value, how much more time is it going to take you to firm up some repair costs? So always give those repair options, even when you know it's replaced. I actually had a contractor share with me a story that he's allowing me to share. I'm not going to say any names, but he failed to give repair costs in a certain situation where the owner knew that the roof needed to be replaced. So after he presented the bid, he sent the proposal over. A few weeks later, he hadn't heard back, so he drove by the site and he saw that the owner or another contractor was actually loading the roof, and it wasn't being replaced. It was actually being repaired. And when he found out why the owner went that way, it was because the owner said that doing the repairs actually was a tax write-off for him, and it allowed him to drop a tier within his tax bracket. So it's actually ended up saving him money doing the repairs, even though he knew it needed to be replaced. So it's just a good habit to get into because you never know what the circumstances for your customer. It just gives you better chances of closing a deal. So I just wanted to share some of those fundamentals within an inspection because they're so important with providing those executive style reports for your customers and providing value through the client portal. So to kind of conclude with this webinar, I do want to talk about a few different things and some features that are relatively new. Right now, you guys are able to offer a desktop version of the client portal that you can embed into your website. Well, we've also now created a mobile app for you guys to offer your customers. And think of it as the same manner that you use your mobile app and your desktop interface. It's more of a condensed version. It has less features. It's easier to use in a mobile environment. So when your customers log in, they'll see a list of different properties to where they can select the property. And really, there's a few different features. We can request service, we can request an inspection, or we can view a past inspection report. And you can actually add properties in this mobile interface. But as you can see, it's really simple to use. But it just gives you another avenue to re-engage with your customers and let them know that, again, you're investing more and more technology and you have more and more things to offer them. All right, so again, another thing I want to touch on is some marketing services that we've recognized, and I've received a lot of requests on just having like a Kickstarter to get this rolled out into your market space. Being able to brand FCS as your own solution outside of your current logo. So what we've done is allocated some resources to provide this type of service for you guys. So what we can do is build some logos. We can build custom brochures, not just the general brochures that you may have seen before. We can design business cards, and we can even brand that client mobile app, which is pretty neat because it's brand recognition. Whenever your clients are going in to request a leak, they can open up their phone and see your logo. It's good advertising for you. So we do have the capability of doing that. The current client mobile app will just have like the generic logo of a roofing logo. So we do have the capability of branding that if that's something that you're interested in. And this is some of the content that we've done in the past for some of our other contractors. So if you want to take a quick look at that. But really, that concludes today's webinar. If anybody has any questions on best practices with the client portal, anything really in general, if you have recommendations on any webinars that you want to see in the future, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call. You can comment in that panel. But like I said, if anyone has any questions, just let me know. But otherwise, let me run through these questions really quick to see if there are any. If I can't get to these, which it doesn't look I can, if anyone has any questions, I'll just make sure to shoot you an email, and we can go through those. But otherwise, hopefully everyone enjoys the rest of your day. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.